Hi, this is Megan Hansen, and this is the case study for EDL 850, Intro to School Law. So section 1, we had to summarize the case and establish the facts. So St. Regis School is located 25 miles from a city. It's in a small rural area. There's 420 kids from grades K through 8. They only have 2 teachers per grade and 2 intervention specialists. And then they have 2 major fundraising events each year. Their annual budget, part of it is purchasing new computers and software. Keith Sample is the principal. He's in year 3. He's not originally from the St. Regis area. He's been working hard to build rapport with all the stakeholders, and based on some survey that he sent out and the feedback he received, he has been successful in doing this. Miss Lynn is the newly appointed full-time library media specialist assistant. The previous school year, the library media specialist teacher retired. The job was unfulfilled, and so the district asked if they were able to make the part-time assistant to full-time to at least cover that gap because nobody had applied for the teacher's position. Miss Williams is a longtime St. Regis teacher. Miss Brandon is new to St. Regis but has had previous teaching experience. And Miss Evans is the PTA president and volunteers at the school. Each member is trying to make St. Regis better, cares about the students' well-being and learning, and all stakeholders want what is best for the students. However, the way in which they go about providing more technology for students is unethical in some minds and has started a debate of, do I do what is legal or ethical, or do what is in the best interest of the students? Next section, has anybody been harmed by the action or decision of another, and if so, in what way? No physical harm has been done. Miss Lynn is hurt because she thought she was being creative and helping staff and students, whereas Miss Brandon wants to be professional and responsible, but also values relationships. The current situation is a violation of copyright policies. Miss Lynn has made copies of a software program, and then she passed those copies out to teachers, which Miss Brandon did not appreciate and felt harassed by Miss Lynn because Miss Brandon asked her how she went about doing this and how it was not right and violated copyright policies. And Miss Lynn responded by saying, I don't care what you did in your other school. At St. Regis, we have to make every penny count for our students. I don't have a fancy degree like you, so I don't know all of the rules. Miss Brandon then explained the situation to Mr. Sample, and so then he went and explained some of the things to Miss Lynn that were unethical, but in regards to interfere with the success of his students and teachers and their well-being, the students are still able to access the software program for the schedule that Miss Lynn had created for all the teachers in the building. And while the teachers and students may be disappointed, he is following the law and thus protecting them from violating copyright policies. So basically just exactly what happened is the district is small and stakeholders try their best to provide students with access to technology. However, the way they are able to access said technology is in violation of copyright policies, thus creating different perspectives amongst staff members. So some of the unknowns and knowns in terms of people, we do know that Miss Lynn made copies of the software. Ms. Brandon expressed concerns to Mr. Sample, and Mr. Sample had a conversation with Miss Lynn to get rid of the copyrighted material. Unknown is, did Miss Lynn contact the program's author to make a specific number of the copies? Did Mr. Sample contact the program's author after discovering Miss Lynn copying the programs? Did Miss Lynn and Ms. Brandon sit down with Mr. Sample to clear the air and see where each person was coming from? In terms of the place, what we do know is that this is a small rural area, relies on state allocated funds and 2 fundraising events for their budget. 25 miles from the city, 420 students, and 20 teachers. Unknown is, does this high school have a similar budget? Because once the kids go to the high school, they have a long bus ride to get there because it is in the city. And could money from the high school be allocated to the K-8 building for purchase of more software, and was that asked? Unknown about the programs, does the high school have a similar budget? How was the budget created? Is there input for the teachers? How many copies did we purchase? And then we can figure out, do they all have to be thrown away? Some of them have to be thrown away. Could money from the high school be allocated to the K-8 building for purchase of more software? Was that asked? Was this brought up at a Board of Education meeting? And was the software program asked for permission to make copies? Was it denied or granted? So could the decision be damaging to stakeholders, to the community? Yes, if the software company finds out the copies have been made, the district and persons could face penalties outlined by the company. Yes, the principals and teachers need to have a staff meeting to discuss the legal ramifications of this action. Everybody has a stake in this: students, teachers, PTA, the entire district. The principal and teachers need to have a staff meeting to discuss legal ramifications of this action, while also thanking the teachers for wanting what is best for the students. We just need to ensure that it's being done legally. And then Mr. Sample also needs to consult Ms. Evans and the PTA about doing things appropriately. I firmly believe that you can always learn more about a situation. Having more data and information allows leaders to make the best decisions for everyone involved. But yes, I do have enough information to make an informed decision right now. So if I'm to take no action, there's a chance the software program company would not find out, and our school would have access to various instructional materials for each grade level to use in the computer lab and in their classrooms. I would have to live with the fact that we did and are doing is illegal and unethical, and I would be modeling an example of not following laws and policies, and thus setting my setup for future problems. Or I am going to report our district for violating the copyright laws, causing financial issues. Furthermore, my staff members could get into legal trouble, as well as repercussions from the district, such as termination of employment. It could receive a consequence for allowing it to happen in my building. This could then potentially cause students distress, and we would have vacancies that could not be filled, as we experienced when our previous library media specialist retired and no one applied for that position. So some of the options that I could come up with is report ourselves and call the software developer, explain why a staff member made copies of the software, explain our school's financial situation, and send them the flash drives. I could call the software developer, request permission to make the copies of the software, and explain our school's financial situation. Could ask the school board for an allocation of funds to purchase one software package per grade level, destroy all the flash drives with the copied software, have a staff meeting explaining copyright laws, but also thanking them for thinking outside the box to better our students' access to technology. Have a conversation with Ms. Lynn and Ms. Evans as to why making copies of the software was wrong. And then having a conversation with Ms. Lynn and Ms. Brayton to help each person understand where the other one was coming from, and that it's okay to disagree professionally as long as in a constructive manner, and we grow from it. However, the action of copying software is illegal, and thus we will need to fix that situation. So some of the pros, I would be displaying strong, ethically sound leadership skills. I would be following the law and school board policies. I'd be setting an example of how to fix mistakes and doing what is right, communicating with all stakeholders without mentioning names. The cons, reporting the district could have financial hardship because per the U.S. Copyright Office, they could penalize as much as $150,000 for every instance that the copyright violation happened. A felony could also be there, along with 5 years in prison. I would break the trust built with all the stakeholders over the last 3 years. The staff may feel like I'm taking another staff member's side and create mistrust, and then ultimately I could lose staff members. So I would go to the superintendent and Board of Education to report my discovery of the copyright infringement. We would then contact our lawyer and report ourselves. I would then ask the superintendent, Board of Education, if we could hold a meeting with the individual who copyrighted and inform them of the actions taken. I would then probably hold a staff meeting, explaining to the staff that I appreciate them wanting what's best for our students. However, we need to make sure that our creativity follows laws to ensure their safety and our students. The next conversation would be with the PTA and the board to create a plan to increase our budget or reallocate funds for software purchases, because we're seeing that's a need. I would then communicate to students and parents that the software is no longer available and how we're going to provide other software to our students in the near future. The goal is to be transparent, also protecting the staff members who were involved. The focus should be on how we are going to work together as a community to ensure our students and staff have the necessary resources available to promote learning. The path I would choose would probably be to report this to the Board of Education. The companies and individuals, again, we could be facing a fine, they could be going to prison, or I'm breaking the trust built with my stakeholders over the last 3 years. The staff may feel like I'm taking sides when really I'm just following the law. I could lose staff members. Really, all stakeholders are the ones who need to know: Board of Education, superintendent, all the staff, and then specifically those who are involved in the situation. I would do so by being transparent, holding meetings and conversations. And then if the plan doesn't work, so if I were to take this to the board and they decided not to report the district, then I would probably destroy all the flash drives and ensure it doesn't happen again. I will report it myself and begin to look for other employment opportunities that value upholding the law. This case directly correlated with operations and management because it's all about following the laws, applying the laws, policies, and regulations within the building, and being a leader. It's relevant because as a future leader, we are going to experience situations similar to this one throughout our tenure. We're going to be faced with making really difficult decisions, but we need to make sure that we are the ones setting the example and we are upholding all of the laws. We are the captain of our building and our district's moral compass. Being a leader is not easy, and doing what is right will more than likely cause some tension amongst employees, but having a strong vision and communicating expectations from the start will help. If this was in my district and I was in charge, I would communicate with individuals directly and let them know I was reporting it to the board and superintendent and lay out the potential scenarios. To help prevent from this happening in the future, I would speak to all staff about copyright policies and to never be afraid to ask questions. I firmly believe that you will succeed more as a leader when you have relationships with people, and it's easier to have difficult conversations once the person feels like they know and care, and you care about them. And then here are my references.